stop sharing.
Yeah.
Stop sharing my screen.
Stop.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 1 second, hold on. All right.
Okay. So last class we discussed about what is meant by programming language. Then after we went to Python programming. Python who was created by Python. Then after we went to the installation part and all. Right? So you guys are got it right. What is meant by programming language? So it's just like kind of language try to interact with the machine in order to accomplish our tasks, whatever you are going to assign. Okay. So last class we discussed about Python, right? So who created the Python? Godio van Rossum in the year 991. So it's almost 33 years. And it's very simple that Python is similar to the English language. Whenever you see the code and all, so you get to know that it's like English language. It's very easy to understand, simple syntaxes, and important point we discuss like for up to 50 to 20 minutes is what is meant by interpreted language. And Python is also allows us cross platforms. It means that we can use Python in any other operating systems like Windows, Mac OS, Linux environment, Raspberry Pi. So whatever the OSs are available, maybe on Android platforms, iOS. So it can be used everywhere, wherever the operating systems are there. So it is independently installed. So it's not dependent on any platforms. Okay, so independent platform, we can install it very easily. So it is an open source platform. Any doubts so far? You can just unmute and ask. If no doubts, just say no doubts. Okay. So let me recall some concept called interpreted language. So, okay, Rick, tell me what you have understood by interpreted language. Nika or Dikvijay. Any insights? Hello? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone can answer. Yeah.
Basically, interpreted languages are languages in which the execution go line by line. Like it's going to take the all instruction and then go through it.
Okay. What about you, Inka? What do you understand by interpreted language?
I would believe is the programming language that you put on the system, right?
Right. So, I mean, what do you understand by interpreted? Like the term interpreted. So, what do you understand by that?
I guess is the language is for the coding. I mean, that you to abbreviate it or whatever. Yeah.
Understood. So let me stress something about on this. Like I will just revise, and if you have any doubts, you can revise the concepts again. Okay. So, like Dikvijay said, interpreted language is a kind of language. It will execute the code of line by line. So, in the sense, so let me write a one code, and I will explain you that. Okay, observe carefully. So I am creating, you can see how I am creating the Python file over here in VS Code. So just click on here. You can see the highlight part, right, in a rectangular box. So when you want to create a file, create the new file here. This is for folder. This is for file, okay. For example, I'm writing the name as first program. So try to maintain the file names as simple, and you can give the underscore after each and every word. Try to make it in small letters. Don't use capital letters, file names. And for saving the Python file, we have to use the .py extension. This is for Python. You can see, right? So I have typed .py and you can see the Python icon. So this indicates that this is a Python file. So just let me write one few lines of code. I will explain you about all these concepts later in the class. Just try to understand how the execution happens. So let me take a variable a, and here I am assigning 5 numbers in a list. We call these square brackets as list. Okay. We call this a as variable here. I will explain you what is variable, what is list in further classes. So this is a piece of code with 3 lines. So first we had given like 5 numbers, and I have stored that 5 numbers in a list. This is called data structure, and we have assigned a variable name. And now I am going to iterate over each and one element. What it does, it will for loop. This is called for loop. Okay. So what it does, it will try to take one number at a time. First, it will take 1, then it will take 2, then it will take 3, then it will take 4, then it will 5. And it will display all the numbers one by one using this print statement. So let me run the file. Okay. Let me run this code. So Control S. Then after, this is the shortcut, Control Shift. This is the command line for running the file. So go to the, this has been navigated to the same path. This is in G drive and this is the Python folder. For running the file, just type Python space. This is the command for running the file, Python space, file name. What is the file name? F. Just give the first letter or few characters of the file name and just type tab. Just click on tab, okay? You will get the file name. No need to type the entire name. Just give tab, okay? So if you guys have seen, so it has printed each and every number one by one, right? So this is what this code does. So what it is happening, so what we were discussing what is meant by interpreted language, right? So in Python, what happens? It try to execute the code line by line. First, it will execute this line of code, and it will execute this line of code and this line of code. So what is the advantage of executing line by line? First, suppose. So I have written code like this. If you can see, this is in the red mark, right? So I am having here syntax error. So what happens? You have written the code, it have saved the code. When you try to execute, okay, if you want to run the file, just click on here run button, okay? You can see run Python file. Directly you can run it. You can see syntax error. So what it is saying, bracket was never closed. So you have to close this bracket. So this is the use of interpreted language. Wherever you're having errors, on the fly it will try to find out the errors and stop the execution of the program. Until unless this error is not going to solve, your code is not going to get executed. So on the fly, at the first line, there is no error. On the second line, there is error, it has shown. So this is meant by line execution. Clear? You guys have understood? Inka, have you understood?
Can you repeat it one more time? I'm trying to grab it, please.
Okay. see here at the very first line, I have written 4 lines of code, right? So I will explain you later what is this print statement, for loop, and all these things, okay? Just try to understand how the execution is happening. I have said here line by line execution, right? So in Python, what happens when you try to run the code? So execution happens. It will first check the first line of code. It will see, have you completely written the syntax in a correct format or not? For suppose you did not close the braces here, okay? You did not close the square bracket here, okay? So this is an error. You have to follow some syntax to write the Python code, but here you did not follow it properly and you did not close the bracket. What it will do, it will throw the error at first line itself, that you are missing something.
Okay, good.
And it will try to show the file name and the line of the error at the first line, and it is saying syntax error. So here you need to close the line. Here you can see it is indicated in the bracket, right? It means that
it's mixing
you
up
have
there.
to close it.
You have to close
exactly.
it. Okay.
So this is why Python is like user friendly, and it is used to
now I got it. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. You make it easier for you. If you make a mistake, it's gonna show you at the bottom.
Exactly.
A system
on the fly.
error.
So it is happening on the fly.
Yes.
So yep. So that's our simple example, and this is the example of how the program is running, how the Python actually runs the program. And there are two points are there. Here I have written something like bytecode, machine level, right? So we had discussed this thing. Let me go down here. Let me write it here one more time. So we discussed it like interpreted, right? Interpreted language. So among this, we discussed one point like line by line execution. Second thing is actually how the level of execution happens. Level of execution. Actually, what's happening behind the scenes. So here we have created one Python file name first underscore program.py, right? So let's take that file name here, first underscore program.py. Program.py. So this is the file. This is the Python file, right? So we say this as source code. Source code in the sense where the program is available. We call it as source code. Okay. So this is the first stage of level of execution. First, we will take the file or the program where it is available. Then after, it will convert into bytecode. Bytecode in the sense, it will convert into some binary. Which can be understood by the machine language, okay? See, basically computer, nothing but CPU, right? So what it understands? Bits. It is in the form of 0 and 1s, right? So computer is nothing but in the form of 0 and 1s. It's understand only 2 numbers, that is 0 and 1. So ultimately we have to convert our program that our machine can understand. Machine understand only one thing, 0 and 1. So what it does is, it will convert into machine code that machine can understand. So this thing happen over here, conversions. Then after we pass it to the machine, then after execution happens. So this is what it is happening line by line. First, we will take the source code, then after line by line execution happens. it will convert into byte code, then after machine will start understanding it, then after execution happens. If you see any error, it will throw syntax error. It can be any kind of errors. We have so many errors, we will discuss it later. So one of the error we have seen is syntax error. So this is the order of the execution or level of the execution that happens in Python. Understood?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is mean by Python interpreted language. So then after we discuss one last thing that how to install the software, Python and the VS Code. So there are two things out there, why we need Python interpreter and why we need this VS Code. Here IDE means VS Code. Full form of IDE is Integrated Development Environment. So IDE is nothing like text editor. We have seen Notepad++, right? Notepad. I think in your laptop you have Notepad, right? Notepad++. What it does, so it gives us the feasibility to write, open, edit the files, right? So likewise, VS Code is also a text editor. We can open it, we can write it, we can edit it, we can save it. So we need two things. One is Python interpreter, one is IDE to follow the level of execution of the Python. Okay. So in this thing, you have to ask me the question, what is Python interpreter and how it is related to this IDE and how this execution happens. So how this execution happens, see, let me go through the VS Code. Is it visible, right? It is visible. Yes, it is visible. See, control. Can you see? You can see the one window, right? Search by names. Guys, are you there?
Yes. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So I have opened one search bar. You can see select Python interpreter. So what happens? First you installed Python, right? First you install Python software here. You can see the Python versions and all these things, right? So these are nothing but the interpreter. What interpreter does is interpreter allows us to run the code. Okay. Listen carefully. Python interpreter allows us to run the code, and IDE or VS Code, there we can edit, modify the file, anything we want to do it. Okay. These are the two differences. So what interpreter does is, in order to run the Python file, you have to configure. Right now I'm trying to configure the Python here. Okay. So when you type Python select, you can see the Python you have already installed. You can see the versions here, right? So let me select this version. So when you have selected, you can see here, right? Python and the Python version. So if you don't have this one, you can't run the file. In order to run the file, you need a Python interpreter. Got it? So this interface is just the editor to modify the files, and you need the Python interpreter in order to run the Python code. So that's the thing we have discussed in the earlier session. The file has been. So do you have any questions? You can ask me. Okay. So I will start within 2 minutes about today's topic. You can go through that. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Yeah. Everyone has joined now. Ashish, are you there? No one has joined it. Only two people joined.
Ashish is there. Maybe he's doing something.
No, he's work. He's into some work. Okay, let me text in the. So until then, you guys can ask me the doubts and go through the things.
Hello, Ajax?
Yeah, Inka, tell me.
We're waiting for the others, right?
Yeah, like just wait for 2 more minutes.
All right. Okay.
It's already 3 p.m., right? So everyone has to.
Hayat, I have a different doubt. Like it is not related to this one. Which topic you have noticed right now?
It's not